Track 24.
Turning now to the main players involved in globalization, we find that there is a clear division between those who are pro-globalization and those who are anti. The main organizations against globalization are the environmental organizations, such as Friends of the Earth and Greenpeace, who put forward the belief that globalization harms the environment. In general, they blame global corporations for global warming and the depletion of natural resources. The most obvious is oil and gas, but there are others such as tropical rainforests, which are cut down for timber, and the resources of the sea, which may be affected by pollution. Organizations which represent developing countries, including international aid agencies such as Oxfam, are also against globalization. They are concerned that the global organizations such as the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank are not doing enough to help the poor, and indeed may be adding to their problems. Some are critical of the World Trade Organization. They argue that the WTO is making it difficult for poor countries to protect and build their own industries. Many companies in rich countries also oppose globalization because they are worried that competition from imports will cost them money. A good example is companies that make clothing and shoes. These are among the few industries in which poor countries can provide effective competition with imports of cheap goods because wages are so much lower than in America or Europe. Lastly, some trade unions oppose globalization too. They say it leads to a lowering of wages and conditions of work in the developed and the developing world. Having looked at some of the anti-globalization arguments, let's now consider those in favor. There are, of course, many organizations in favor of globalization. Perhaps the most important one is the World Trade Organization, or WTO. This was set up in 1995 and has 153 member countries. It administers the rules of international trade agreed to by its member countries. The WTO's rules make it difficult for a country to favor their own industry over imports from other countries. The WTO argues that the growth of trade between countries increases the wealth of everyone. Trade allows those who can produce goods most cheaply to do so, thus giving everyone the best possible price. Another pro-globalization organization is the International Monetary Fund, or IMF. This was established after World War II in 1946. It aims to promote international cooperation on finance and provide temporary help for countries suffering financial problems. The IMF has 187 member countries. Finally, the United Nations, which was established after the Second World War, has become a promoter of globalization. It has 193 member states and aims to promote a shared set of values in the areas of labor standards, human rights, and environmental practices between the UN and the business community. So, we've seen that there are powerful arguments and important players both for and against globalization. I'd now like to move on to look at some of the key issues for debate. Let us begin by considering the question of global inequality.
IELTS Foundation Students Book, published by Macmillan Education, a division of Macmillan Publishers Limited. Copyright Macmillan Publishers Limited 2012.